So hello everyone, आप सभी को स्वागत है हमारे केले भाव संवाद के एक और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग डिस्कशन में, जिसमें हमारे साथ अनु लाल मैम है एंड शिवानी मनचंदा मैम है। एंड इस बार का जो हमारा जिस चीज़ पे डिस्कस होने वाला है वो थोड़ा हटके होने वाला है, क्योंकि ये टॉपिक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है और कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स में बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, रेलेवेंस रखता है। So मैं ज़्यादा वक्त तो लूँगा नहीं. I'll just briefly introduce our guests today. So Anu ma'am comes from she is a lawyer and author, but she gave up her illustrious career in the pharmaceutical technology sectors and took to getting trained in mind body wellness disciplines. She is also on a lot of she has a social media channel, and you must have seen her on a lot of what we say television channels and all. और उसके बाद and she has also authored 4 books. And हमारे साथ शिवानी मनचंदा मैम है. She is also a counselor and she is a former counselor at IIT Bombay and has an experience of over 30 years in this counseling field. And she has also been a regular contributor to the Telegraph of Kolkata edition. तो हम लोग सुनते हैं मैम लोगों को. And ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Aditya. Welcome, Anu. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. So, as Aditya was mentioning, that you started your career off as a lawyer and then chose to do your MBA and then worked in the pharma industry. So, I'm curious about about this inner transformation journey that you went through, which sort of led you from being a corporate employee, so to say, to an entrepreneur, to an author, and interestingly, you did not choose to write about law or management, but you chose to write about breath and yoga and meditation. So tell us about this journey that you have taken.
Thank you so much, Shivani ji. Actually, it was just the other way around. I first did my MBA because during my growing up years, I think MBA was a basic level qualification to get yourself a job. And then I did law later from evening college. And along the line, yoga and pranayam was something that my mother taught me. So, and I mean, I must have started learning when I was 10, 12 maybe years old. It wasn't as fancy as it is today, no? And I hated this practice. And I was like, but my mom got after my case because I had a deviated nasal septum. I mean, it's still deviated. It's very much visible. So it is like a plumbing problem, no, in your nasal drainage.
Right.
And as a young girl, she would make me do neti and pranayam and yoga. And I thought it was so uncool. I thought I had the most uncool mom on the planet. But till the time I left my parents' home for going to college, university, my health was controlled by my mom with yoga breathing alone. And this continued for a while. And lo and behold, it just happened that I started working in a pharmaceutical company after my MBA. And I started seeing a lot of research reports and everything for various things. And at that time, there were not much of research available for pranayam and yoga as it is today. And then life kept going on. It kept taking me to different parts of the world. And I used to teach part-time in many different places. In yoga studios, I used to teach breathing and I used to teach asana. And since I knew a little bit of Sanskrit, so I was the exotic flavor in different yoga studios around the world. कि अच्छा जी ये सिखा रही हैं, ये इंडिया से आई हैं, तो इनको कुछ ज़्यादा पता होगा जैसे. So ऐसे करते करते my teaching career was a parallel track to my normal work life. And I think about 18, 20 years of working, I decided to take it up full time.
Okay. But was there like a turning point or a trigger point or a point of activation where one day, you have this sort of feeling that, okay, I need to now shift from being a part-time breath teacher and a yoga teacher to being
Uh,
full time? Was there like a trigger point for you or an
I
activation?
don't think there was a catastrophic event that brought me to this place, but just small nudges, bumps, pushes from life in general, which just kept pushing me to this direction. And I
Okay.
had never planned that, I'll do it. I'll do it like this. I mean, things only make sense when we look back, like they say, the dots connect when you look back. So I think
Right.
that is what it is, and that is what the philosophy of yoga and asana and pranayam does to you. It makes things very slow and the uptake is very easy. It's
Hmm.
not something that one day something happens. So it's a slow, gradual process, and that's what makes it more comfortable. Also, I think.
Right, right. And in what ways? I know you spoke about your nasal issues and things like that, but I would really like to talk about your mental makeup and query as to what really transformed in your, how has yoga and meditation and pranayam impacted your own life other than sort of physically? I mean spiritually and mentally. In what ways has it taken you towards well-being or being grounded or whatever?
I mean, I often boast about this a lot, and my mother tells me not to do that, but I will still say it. Despite the fact that I started my career in the pharmaceutical industry, I have not taken a single medicine in the last 15 years, other than two
Fantastic.
incidences when I was cycling across Vietnam and I fell down and I fractured some bit, broke in a sense, and one other way when I was doing another extreme sports activity. Apart from that, I have not really taken any medicine. So I don't advocate this lifestyle. I don't say that it should be no medicine. Take medicine
Sure.
when it's required, but the dependency on unnecessary drugs goes down. The dependency on things, because there's a lifestyle which gets structured. So the
Right.
dependency on things goes down, on external things, because your own body is able to take care of a lot of things yourself. I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
For example, acidity. When I used to be in the pharma space, I don't exactly remember the numbers now, but GERDs, which is gastroesophageal reflux disorders slash acidity, is I think some $15 billion market or something. Right
Right.
now, this exists because most people eat wrong at the wrong time and don't breathe properly.
Hmm.
So once one's system gets in shape, these things go down. These are
Hmm.
lifestyle disorders. Also, lifestyle disorders like one wakes up with unnecessary headaches. So that kind of stuff goes out of the window. Energy levels are generally up, so you don't need that extra coffee or that extra tea. I mean, I still enjoy my tea, adrak wali chai, but you don't need it for something.
Right.
Your energy levels are generally better, your moods are generally better, your digestion is generally better. So overall, if health improves, no, then a lot of emotional things in life also get sorted.
Okay.
Your life basically gets tuned to the rhythm of the universe in that sense. So it's
Right.
a it's a great advantage.
Right, 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 right. That's great because I have found myself that pranayam has helped me to be more centered in my own
Hmm.
self and helped me collect my thoughts better and things. So it's great to hear your sort of impact as well. And that
And
leads,
now there's a lot of scientific evidence on this.
yes, yes. And this sort of leads me on to the next question, which is that now WHO, when we define health, talks about it not just an absence of disease, but also a balance or a well-being in terms of the physical space as well as mental space as well. So, in this context of positive mental health, where health can be improved upon by doing certain lifestyle changes, how do you place yoga, meditation, and what is the scientific reason that sort of helps you place yoga in that context of positive mental health, as
Hmm.
WHO has defined it now?
So इसको मैं तीन parts में break करती हूँ. The first part is the WHO part, and then we'll
Yeah,
see the philosophical part from the
sure.
asana practice, and then we can go to the medicine and the science part, because the science part, the biomarkers, that is the lowest hanging fruit. That is something which you see. Now, when WHO says that absence. It's not just absence of bad health, but it is it's something more positive. I think we've always been saying this, pehla sukh nirog kaya. The first happen, the first thing, the first essential condition to give you happiness is absence of disease, absence, or a nirog kaya. Jab kaya nirog hoti hai, to we are automatically uplifted in life.
Hmm.
And from a philosophical perspective, yoga, we take it to be something which is just the asana. But yoga is a much bigger practice. It's a much bigger. It is almost a yajna. Yoga yajna is defined in the Bhagavad Gita, and the yoga yajna is the yajna for life, and usme everything comes in. Bhagavad Gita में एक श्लोक आता है which says अहम वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनाम देहमाश्रितः प्राणापान समायुक्तः पचान्यन्नम चतुर्विधम. That is, it is the process of breath, incoming pranapana, that is the incoming and the outgoing breath, which keeps everything in balance. It keeps everything in balance. That is samayukta. It keeps samayukta means everything in balance, and it helps us. It is this energy, the Ishwarka energy, manifesting through this incoming outgoing breath, which helps us digest four kinds of food, pachanyannam chaturvidham. The whole of the body system runs on this principle that there is energy and there is Ishwar. The Gita would call it Ishwar. Somebody who doesn't believe in religion would call it energy. But this whole balance of the mind body works in a rhythm in this sense, and that's how everything gets digested. You get energy out of it, and life manifests. Coming to the third part, that how do we actually see this in our lives, and how do we see this in terms of the scientific practices? When we talk of this mental samayukta, when we talk of this balance is not just body, but it's also the mind. We have started talking of the mind body, the gut brain connection only very recently. But if you look at the shloka from chapter 15 in the Bhagavad Gita, which I just narrated, we've been talking about this gut-brain axis forever, for thousands of years. There is no health when there is no balance in the gut-brain. Mind and body works in tandem. And when we see, reports, and when we see clinical trials based on asanas, based on breathing, the outcome is, the evidence is clinching. The evidence is clinching to the level that the breathing, how it is impacting emotions, how it is impacting moods. There are EEG studies which are being done. And unfortunately, all this is happening in the West. None of this is happening too much in India. But I have myself participated in studies where they put, those EEG nodes on the thing, and we breathe in a particular way, and then the results show. Or even the skin sensory tools, where they take our sensory imprints before and after a breathing session. The evidence is now clinching that how breathing can impact our moods and how it can reduce our stress levels to such a large extent. So whether we talk of it in the WHO definition, or in the Bhagavad Gita framework, or the Sanatana Dharma framework, or we look at it in the format of clinical trials, the thread is unmistakably very strong.
Right, right.
I'm not sure if I answered your question or if I took too long.
No. I think you answered it very well, because definitely there is a lot of research now going on. And with our government having announced the International Day of Yoga, and sort of now yoga becoming more and more prominent, I think it is being investigated further in yoga institutes in India as well now. And of course, in the West, there's always been a lot of research in mindfulness as well as yoga, as you correctly mentioned earlier. So I understand that you've written several books about this as well. And in one of the books, I noticed on the cover that you mentioned the word science and technology in your breath workout, Fitter, Stronger, and Happier You. So could you tell us a little bit more about this book that you've written, and what made you write it, and what are the key components that you talk about it in that book?
Fair enough. So when I wrote this book, I had already been teaching for a long while. This book came out of my learnings from the pandemic. I think it was a pandemic that we yoga people have always been saying, take care of the lungs, take care of the lungs. It was a pandemic that I think told people that heart ही सब कुछ नहीं है, lungs भी होते हैं, lungs को भी देखो, So I think everybody got focused on that, and suddenly what we used to teach, the power of an inhale, the power of an exhale, how to measure the breath, the lung function test, everything came right to the forefront. So during the pandemic, I used to run many classes, like many webinars, 3 times a day, and thousands of people joined those classes. They were all free. And I put together my learnings from there in this book, because I used to teach with a lot of scientific background, so people liked it. And from there, it kind of has transformed into a health tech company. We're coming up with an app now, so things have gone one level ahead. And so this really came out from the pandemic, like many other health, I think, apps came out. And also COVID-19, the pandemic put the responsibility of health and immunity in our hands in a way that, nothing else did. And I'm very proud to say that India is the only country where Ministry of Ayush and ICMR gave a call to pranayama and Ayurveda. There was Department of Science and Technology in India called for researches on breathing methodology. So kind of, a lot of things came together during that time and later. So I think breath workout, the book, I chose to name it breath workout and not pranayam, because at that time people were more, were less tuned to the idea of pranayam, more tuned to the idea of breath. If I were to write, going forward, people are more tuned to getting to know the philosophy behind it. That is going more towards pranayam, that people are not averse to the idea of discussing shlokas like what I'm doing now. Sure. 4-5 years ago, people were not open to the idea at all. So, and now, of course, research has progressed a lot, but I think this book was at the right place at the right time. And I put it down to a way that, it is like you exercise a muscle in the gym, the same way you can exercise your breath. And that put everything in place for me personally.
Right. You're right that during COVID and with the call from the ministry, there was a lot of focus on pranayam during that time. And subsequently now, there is a lot of interest in that as well. But still, when I work with young people especially, I always get asked this question whenever I do any kind of a mindfulness meditation or a pranayam, or I talk about anything in terms of stress reduction. The thing they ask is, why breath, ma'am? What is so special about it that everybody keeps telling us to observe breath, to feel it? What is so special about it? So please answer that question for all the young people out there. Ask this question sort of with such sort of anxiety around it कि इतना क्या खास है breath में कि सब कुछ उसी के बारे में सब लोग बात करते हैं.
The breath is one thing which which coordinates your mind and body together. Yes. And breath is, of course, the Bhagavad Gita talks endlessly about prana and about pranayama. We have in Ayurveda, we say that the gateway to consciousness is through the nostrils. Nasodwar, the dwar of the nostrils are the gateway to consciousness and good health. So even in the Genesis, it is said that God breathed air into man's nostrils, and that's how life happened. So breath is the gateway to good health. I mean, that is one piece in the Genesis, but breath is the gateway to good health. हमारी तो पूरी संस्कृति में लिखा हुआ है. There is no running away from that, and it's a very easy tool to use. It's a patent-free technology. It is available to all.
Yes.
You breathe so many thousand times in a day. You breathe, I think, around 22,000 times in a day, and that is the opportunity you have to reset your emotional patterns. So 22,000 times a day, you can reset your patterns. Now, the importance of this is that either we can tell so much of theory that I have, or people see it experientially. Unless someone, because I can talk about it ad nauseam, कि देखो भगवद गीता में लिखा है, गिरहण संहिता में लिखा है, यहाँ पे भी लिखा है, वहाँ पे भी लिखा है. But the quickest way to see it is to see it on yourself. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, knowledge stays with us as long as it's experiential.
Right.
Otherwise, it's theory. I mean, हाँ किसी ने कहा है पर मुझे नहीं समझ में आया. But
Hmm.
one thing I've noticed that doesn't allow people to experience this is that constantly people have blocked nostrils. It's so simple, basic a fact. But most people, especially in the urban world, have become mouth breathers.
Hmm.
So even when you ask them to breathe, they are breathing through their mouth, so they don't experience the magic of it. And
Right.
when I used to work in the US, that's when I realized that mouth breather is supposed to be a gali. It's supposed to be a bad word. It's supposed to
Hmm.
be a slur in that sense. You
Hmm.
can't, you, it's like an abuse. And I was like, why is this an abuse? And,
Right.
if we really understood the meaning behind it,
Hmm.
that how breathing from the nose is the gateway to consciousness. So really a person who's a mouth breather is not a conscious person. So yes, it is a bad word in that sense.
Right.
But it takes time to understand that. And I would think the easiest way to see it is to experience it. Clear your nostrils first and then breathe and see. I mean, it's in your hand. There's no other tech tool required. There's no dogma. There's no gadget. Nothing. Apki, you and your breath. That's it.
Absolutely. And no gym or sort of any kind of equipment required.
No
It's just something
equipment
that
required.
we all
No
have.
dogma required. Yeah,
Yeah. And it is a sign of life, isn't it? We are alive
absolutely.
and fully alive as long as we are breathing completely. And what you say is correct, that breathing through both the nostrils is really important. And pranayam talks about that a lot.
Mm.
Uh, so now we've spoken about your breath workout book and how important breath is to getting that mental and emotional balance, as well as to be free of uh, physical ailments, so to say, by using this technology, which is part of our life and so much part of who we are. And I've also noticed that it is also useful uh, to sort of sustain one's emotional balance, or not sort of. But I would like to talk to you about it a little bit more, because as a counselor, I find that a lot of people give an excuse that I got triggered, I got raged, or I got so angry when this person spoke to me like that. And they take on the negative energy of the other person and use that as an excuse to lose their own santulan, so to say, and use bad words, or go into a rage, or whatever. So could you sort of elaborate on how maybe all of us could use breath work and pranayam to regulate our emotions, such that we are in a better position to not get triggered by external stimuli so much? And I know you spoke earlier about how pranayam also helps you regulate your inner world as well. So I just thought that maybe you could speak a little bit more about that.
Sure. Firstly, we are living in a world where getting triggered emotionally and getting anxious or getting angry, more than anxious, getting angry, is taken to be as a mark of getting impacted by something. That
Yeah.
I'll give you a simple example. Like, when we used to come back after, say, a trip from school, a cycling trip, or whatever, there was nobody outside taking care of us with double tiffin boxes and with so many things lined up, or selfies here. Look, my child has done this. हाँ हो गया, कर लिया साइकिल, 2 गोडे टूट गए, एक एक खरोच लग गई, आप घर आ गए वापस. Life was normal. Now there's a heightened expectation and a heightened reaction to everything, to everything, and that is supposed to be the normal. And this is for men and women. If you hang around at water coolers in corporate offices, the most conversation is about, this happened and then I said this. It is supposed to be a good thing. Getting angry has become a good thing. Getting into a rage has become a good thing. Hitting the panic button has become a good thing. I mean, roll back 20 years. Anything happened, the news channels would tell you, do not panic. Don't hit the panic button. The agencies will reach out to you. Now, this has changed top down in our society. Hitting
Right.
the panic button, hitting our triggers, ye ho
Yeah.
gaya, aaj sansani case. It has become the way of our life, of our society in general. So
Yes.
to hold your own in this world which we have created, where hitting the panic button is considered a good thing, is something which society as a whole needs to also change. And only then it will trickle down to the individual. Coming down to the individual, first decide, is it good for you or is it bad for you? Do you even want to let go of that heightened reaction? That heightened reaction could be any emotion, anger, it could be panic, it could be, pretty much any emotion. If we want to let go of that, only then it is possible. And I
Yeah.
find in most of my interactions with people that there is a value that we have attached to heightened reactions. We don't want to let go of it. Uh, if we want to let go of it, only then breathing practices can help. And then, yes, there is 100 proofs which tell me that yes, if we want to regulate our emotions, then breathing is a fantastic way to regulate emotions. But emotion regulation को पहले define कर लेते हैं. Emotion regulation is defined in a way that I'm able to control my own emotions, regulate my own emotions, and handle moods and temperaments of those around me, which
Yes.
means people, which means society at large, which means the television, which means pretty much everything then.
Yeah.
So emotional regulation as is an essential skill for humans in society.
Right.
And that's what makes us productive. That's what makes us skilled to manage our environment. Now, conscious breathing can be a very promising intervention for emotional regulation, provided we want to regulate it.
Right.
Now, there's a big study that I quote in my book also, and I talk about it a lot. It says how breath control can change your life. Ideally, I would not like to use the word control with breath, more like manage, but that's the study that it's titled.
Right.
And here, these researchers documented very specific techniques, okay, which enhance your cerebral and psychological flexibility. They explored the linkage between autonomic and parasympathetic nervous activity, central nervous activities, and they related this to pranayam, different techniques of pranayam, emotional
Sure.
regulation and mental well-being. They correlated it so beautifully that it is, when you read these kind of studies, it's almost impossible to negate them.
Mhm.
But again, I come back to my question that yes, it will help you only if you want to be helped.
Yes, like everything else, isn't it? Whether it's therapy, whether it's counseling, whether it is any kind of a change, it has to
Sure.
come from within and from a conscious decision that I want to change, and I want to change regardless of whether the world around me is going to change or not. And
Correct.
it is
And
my
and
own.
Shivani ji, you are a counselor. You would, I'm sure, testify this, and I say this as a teacher. The number of times that people lie to you,
Yeah.
even to their coaches, to their counselors, is not funny. I mean, and if you're lying to your teacher or your counselor or your coach, you're essentially lying to yourself, no?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it emerges from that very often we don't want to acknowledge to ourselves more than to anybody else what our own challenges are, and not be
Mm,
accountable for how we are responsible for some of the challenges that we are facing.
true. True.
So in that sense, this what you said earlier, that the decision to change has to come from within, because that links up with accountability, and that links up with the desire for that better ability to manage our productivity, manage our personal life, and our relationships as well, because so many relationships get disrupted because we have made it okay to give in to anger, particularly in situations where the other person is on a lower value chain, so to say, where
Here
companies
it's also, sorry, I mean, relationships still involve another person. A lot of times people get triggered by news. A lot of times people get triggered by reporters who not even a real person. They're talking to you out from a
yeah,
box. And a lot of times people come to my class and they say that, because we saw this disturbing news last night, we could not sleep.
yeah,
The control is in your hand. You can switch it off.
yes,
So I
yes.
think the idea is to take the remote control back in your hand in general.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very well said. that the remote has to be in your hand for your life and
Mm.
your moods and your emotions. And I think pranayam actually facilitates that process, and yoga facilitates that process, or to move us further in that direction. And I think while we are talking about emotional regulation, I also want to talk about how pranayam facilitates discipline in life. I see a lot of clients who say wake up very late in the morning and therefore are unable to then be fully productive in sort of the mainstream way. And what do you have to say about discipline, and whether there is a certain specific amount of time, however gradual we build up to it, that we must invest in our own selves through various techniques, such that we have better self-regulation or discipline as well.
Sorry, I think I missed one part, but yeah, I think I mostly got what you say.
Sure.
You know, on the question of discipline, I'll give you a parallel example. Um, how often do we get late for a flight? How
Hmm.
often do we miss a flight?
Yeah.
Almost never. I mean, you ask most people, especially Indians, we are very frugal people. हम बहुत उससे book करते हैं, and you almost never miss a flight. Maybe you would recall maybe once or twice, somebody missed their flight because of traffic or something. Why do we put in that discipline to leave early from home, to track this thing, to reach there on time? Because we know that there's an implication. Tickets 10-15,000 ki aati hai. There's an implication we have to reach on time. But why does nobody reach marriages on time? बारात 3 घंटे लेट, सब लोग 2 घंटे लेट, ओके, पार्लर से 2 घंटे लेट आ रही है दुल्हन, द वर्क्स, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट. So whatever the mind deems to be important, discipline will come automatically. Whatever the mind deems not to be important, discipline will not come there. And of course, that said, discipline is not an easy thing to do.
Hmm.
It's a daily failure or it's a daily success. It's not easy. It's
Right.
not easy. Somebody might say, "Oh, I take a flight just once a month. It's easy to reach on time." We also have a marriage just once in a year to attend, but we reach there late. So the number may not be that important, but it's the mental thing. Whatever is important, we definitely do that. In this sense, abhyas is of utmost importance. The practice. The
Yes.
practice in a way of whatever we do, not just pranayam, but practice of anything that we do in life. When it becomes so seamless that
Yes.
you don't even need to do it, you don't even need to think about it, you don't need to put any samskars you don't need to remind yourself to do it. That is when it becomes a normal routine for you. So उठ के बैठ के थोड़ा सा breathing करना है, a little bit of a prayer, like do we ever think about brushing our teeth? No, we don't.
Hmm.
Because from the time we've had teeth, somebody has told us if you don't brush, decay will happen. But
Yeah.
nobody told us if you don't clean your nose, one day you lose your consciousness. Nobody told us that, no. So
Right.
I think discipline comes when something is deemed important by our mind, and our mind is very intelligent, very
Right.
intelligent. It
Right.
creates a priority list of its own, and also once one sees the benefits of it,
Hmm.
one practices it a lot more. Like I was telling you, my mom introduced me to this, took me to this yoga camp when I was when I was a teenager, and I thought she was the most uncool mom. But and we were there for like 40 days almost. I mean, and I thought, हम पता नहीं क्यों आए यहाँ पे क्या. And as teenagers, you always know
Yeah.
better than your
That's a
moms,
lot.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah. But that ingrained that thing in me that, whenever I catch a cold or whenever something happens, at least I know what to do.
Right.
It's not that you're not going to have fever anytime in your life or something, but at least you know what to do, at least you know what protocols to follow. So learning it early, learning it long enough in yoga practice, we say is dirgha kala nirantaram. Learning it for a dirgha kala, for long duration, doing it repetitively builds those samskars. So you know where to go to.
Hmm.
So then it becomes your go-to practice. That
Right. Right. Right.
what I learned there, whenever I Sorry, did I miss you?
Yeah. I think I didn't hear your last part. Sorry. Can you?
Yeah, so I said, whatever becomes, whenever a practice becomes dirgha kala nirantaram, whenever a practice becomes long enough, dirgha kal, and repetitive, that's when
Right.
it gets built into the sanskars. That's when it becomes your go-to reaction for
Right.
things.
Right.
So yes, first deem it important, and secondly do that abhyas.
Right, right. And while we are talking about discipline, I also wanted to get your opinion about this great thing that all of us at one point or the other have been forced into, which is multitasking, where we are asked to perform several things at the same time, talk to people, see our WhatsApp, and also be typing out an email or whatever. And do you think that uh, when we focus on our breath and when we develop the discipline of working with our breath regularly, do you think it helps us um, get more focused and have better concentration as a person, so that we are not sort of doing थोड़े थोड़े अटेंशन से सब कुछ, बट एक जम के कोई काम करने की एबिलिटी या क्षमता उससे डेवलप होती है. तो वुड यू एग्री विद दैट?
सो एक तो आई थिंक मोबाइल फोन्स ने सबकी कंसंट्रेशन बिल्कुल ही बर्बाद कर दिए. इट्स लाइक
एब्सोल्युटली.
it's like a new sense that has developed. In human beings we had 5 sense organs, and this has become our 6th sense
राइट.
organ, and developing to be 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th, right?
राइट.
So talking of multitasking, I think humanity brought up this word around, I think, 70s and 80s, and it was told like, multitasking is a good thing. The Western framework brought this up.
Right.
And newer studies are saying that multitasking literally destroys your brain.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. In the yoga traditions, we have a concept for this called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, which
Okay.
is buddhi, which is sthir, focused, and of course, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi means rooted to the Param. But in that sense, it is focused intelligence. It is not running here and there, because multitasking is literally, if I'm talking to you through my computer screen, I have 15 windows open.
Right.
At any one point of time, I will only work on one window. It's not
Right.
possible to have 2 or 3 windows open, right? And
Right.
the lag time that I will have shifting from one window to another and back is the time that the brain loses. So that's how multitasking has never been successful. I don't know how in the 70s and 80s they came up with the study saying that it is a fantastic thing. We've never said, in the yoga scheme of things, we've never said that multitasking is a good thing. And
Right.
women have been sold the idea saying, oh, women are very good at multitasking, which is all bunkum, absolute nonsense. Now, coming out of this, that we think that we can do a lot more things at one go. We actually can't. The brain is only processing one thing at one point of time, and then we are switching windows. Now, how many windows do you want to switch? Essentially, it is again your decision. That said, in the traditional Gurukul systems, people were trained. Young boys and girls, I'm assuming, were trained for many things. They were trained to write with both their hands. They were trained to count a bell running in the background, and from one hand write an algebra equation, and from the other compose a music thing. So I think they were doing 7 or 8 tasks together. They were trained. The whole system, the whole paddhati trained them to do this. And what do? We put untrained children to do this sort of multitasking, which is like different windows. It's not even processing things at the same time.
Right.
So we are doing ourselves a lot of harm if we don't do that kind of focused work. In fact, we are ourselves exploding our brains.
Right.
And in very simple activities, like I'll give you an example. It's not only work, it is in very simple activities. Imagine a trip I take from here to Shimla with my friends. 4 people in a car. First, there'll be music playing in the car. Then there'll be 4 people chatting amongst each other. Then 2 people out of that will be on the phone and also chatting with you. Then the third person would be looking out for food. Let's stop here, let's stop here. Imagine the trip from here to Shimla. All 4 people have exploded their brains with so many different conversations, so many different types of sounds, that you come back, that you need a drink to fall off to sleep then.
Right.
है ना? तो ये जो दिमाग को फाड़ दिया है हमने, फोड़ दिया है, ये हमने टू वेरी लार्ज एक्सटेंट खुद ही किया है. एंड personally, I'm not a good multitasker. I've never claimed I'm a good multitasker. So I like to do one thing at a time usually.
Right, right. I think in that sense, I have come a full circle. Definitely, there was a time when I was constantly multitasking,
Hmm.
and till I reached a point where I almost got burnt out by just trying to do so much and not achieving as much as I thought. And
Right.
that is when I decided to break the cycle and say, okay, I'm going to collect my calls on my phone, put it on silent,
Right.
not do three things at a time, but just focus on one. And that then led to a lot of transformation inside of me as well. I think my productivity uh, enhanced completely. And that is
Absolutely.
something that I also talk to my to young adults when I sort of work with them in terms of counseling. I was working with IIT, and the students there are, as you know, very high merit, very ambitious, and the requirement of the program is such that they need to be working uh, in various spheres all the time, including the extracurriculars and all of that. And what I notice is that young people now are also talking about burnout. And that breaks my heart a little, because it's one thing for a 40 or a 50-year-old woman to say, I'm burning out and I really need to sort of reboot and sort of change my way of functioning. But when young people talk about burnout and lose interest in learning and lose their mojo, so to say, that is very heartbreaking. And I would love to hear your opinions on that, and how yoga and meditation can help people to reboot their life from any kind of a burnout, not essentially academic.
When I work with young people when I work with young people for burnout or helping them reduce their anxiety levels, one thing I always like to check is, along with the working that's happening in the mind, which is literally the activities that they're doing for their course programs, what is that they are eating? Because at the end of the day, it's a mind brain connection. It's a gut brain connection. Uh, Sorry, not mind brain connection, it's a gut brain connection, no? So
Yeah,
it's a mind body needs to be synced there. And
yeah,
more often than not, I find that eating in late night kitchens, eating in late night night stalls, वो हमारे ज़माने में भी होता था. Our night canteen was like the most glamorous thing to happen on campus. And then when you look at it, that is not glamorous at all. It's actually a very foolish thing to do. You're
yeah,
not only making your mind work overtime, you're also making your kidneys and pancreas work overtime. And किसी को भी overtime अच्छा नहीं लगता. Today we are saying 70-hour work and 90-hour work, and you're making your kidneys and pancreas work 90 hours. Like ये कहाँ से हुआ? So the food intake, I think, of younger people has gone down. The nutrition has gone down so drastically that we don't realize that it's not nourishing their minds and bodies at all.
hmm,
And I was tracking this food at a particular college that I was working with, and I realized that there is such little portion of vegetables, such little portion of good grains, such little portion of actual fruits in their diet that body sustain ही नहीं कर रही उसको. I'm not talking of proteins and carbohydrates. Just
yeah,
the main foods जो हमें दिखते हैं. सबको दिखते हैं. Nobody needs to be told कि fruit या इसमें दाल में क्या है. Late night food, the maida food, eating extra spicy food at night, and literally eating junk all day. So,
right,
so much of junk and packaged food say, how will mental health sustain? Burnout is imminent. So
right,
one of the lowest hanging fruits for taking care of burnout is actually taking care of food. The
right,
curriculum may be very hard pressed, but eating good food is still in your own hands.
right,
And any big college, any big engineering college one goes to, not just the IITs, but any, has at least 5 or 6 night canteens that operate till 3 or 4 in the morning. and they are very profitable business. So I was speaking to one of the night canteen operators, and he says, "सारा business तो 10 बजे के बाद ही आता है.
Right.
10 बजे से बाद से 2 बजे तक सुबह, कई लोग 3 बजे तक भी आते हैं." So
Right.
imagine the body which is working, the mind which is working, and the digestive system which is working from 10 to 2 in the morning. कैसे चलेगा? नहीं चलेगा. We are foolish to think कि वो चलेगा.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I think a lot of the stress and anxiety and this sort of forced attempt to multitask the input from various mediums like uh, Insta and Twitter and all of that. Uh, the sleep is also getting disturbed. The sleep, I mean, like a lot more people have sleep issues, insomnia, and that then in turn impacts their whole well-being, not just physical but also mental well-being and things like that as well. And of course we
So
have
many,
yoga.
so many startups make their business out of melatonin-related products, which promote sleep.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
which means that normal people cannot sleep a normal duration, which is kind of unheard of, no? And these are all educated people.
right,
This is not a problem in the villages. This is not really a problem in smaller towns. This is literally a problem of more the education, more
right,
access to Netflix, more access to high speed internet,
yeah,
worse the sleep. I mean,
right.
tools, technology that was supposed to enhance our well being are the ones that are working against us. I mean, कैसी दुनिया बनाई है हमने ये?
Very true, very true. It is a cause of concern and worry for a lot of us, and that's why I think your book should be interesting read for all those who want to improve and sort of improve their breathing, work on their breathing, have some discipline about it, and things like that. So, if one decides to say do pranayam on a regular basis, then what is the kind of duration do you think that people should work up to? Have you spoken about that in your book, or could you sort of shed some light on that? Is sort of,
Sure.
are we talking 5 minutes a day? Are we talking 10 minutes a day, or three
So
hours?
most well, I 3 hours a day, I'm sure, is going to be very helpful. But see, most of us are not monks. Most of us are householders. No, we cannot meditate endless hours in a day, and
Right.
neither are we people like you and me, rock stars or film stars, where we have a whole team of people looking after our health. Our
Right.
reality is somewhere in between, where we don't want to age that fast, we don't want to look that old, but we don't have time for all this. We still have deadlines. I mean, typically householders, grast ashram people, no, right in the middle, several
Yes.
things pulling us. So for people like us, I think breathing becomes a very important practice, because it doesn't, it's not a full-fledged meditation practice that one has to really sit away from the world to do it. One has to be trained to do that kind of meditation in the world also. But breathing becomes a very nice, easy to use tool. And I think most of the scientific studies that I've quoted say that about 7 to 10 minutes, even 3 to 4 times a week, can show huge difference. And I often tell people that 3 to 4 times a week, may do to Saturday, Sunday ho gaye.
Right.
Only 2 more days. Only 2 more days.
Yeah.
And 7 to 10 minutes. That's it. 7 to 10 minutes. If you
Right.
time out 7 to 10 minutes, it's not much. 10,
No.
10 minutes is not much. So
No.
if it's a 40-minute thing in a whole week, it's not such a big thing if one gets back one's focus, one's sleep, one's health, and just the ability to do good, focused, deep work.
Right. Right.
And automatically distractions will go out of the way, because it will change you inside out.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the duration that I recommend to most people in the householder kind of practices. I mean, people who are
Yeah.
in monasteries can do a lot more.
No, no. But we are talking about most of us, for instance, who lead busy lives and
Mm.
fairly sedentary lives as well. All of us are tied to our computers and a lot of audience, I'm sure, which is watching this program right now, probably goes is working in companies where their life is defined by the computer, by the desktop. And breathing is something that people can do even while they are sitting on their
Even
office,
while they're sitting on the desk, yeah, yeah.
a
But
deep
but a
breath.
but a consistent practice, like a separate practice, about 10 minutes a day, and then it becomes a part of your life. 10 minutes 4 times a day. Sorry, 4 times a week, and then it becomes part of your life throughout the day. I mean, throughout the day you're breathing slightly better, and
Right.
next day you're breathing slightly better and better and better. So as and when the breathing starts to improve, your stress levels begin to go down and your sleep becomes better. And the moment we sleep better, we are automatically in good health.
Yes, 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 yes. That's great. And when we are talking about building a practice, and as you say, 7 to 10 minutes, 3 times a week or 4 times a week, I think most of us spend far more time scrolling Netflix to see what we want to watch. So definitely finding, say, 30 to 40 minutes a week is not too much. I have a slightly related question, and a lot of my clients also ask me this, that when they're in a crisis, say when you enter into a panic or you're in some kind of a crisis in your life, uh, is that a good time to start to learn a good skill? When is it that somebody should start to learn something like this? We are talking about, yeah, it's only about 30 to 40 minutes a week. Most of us should be able to find the time. It has these huge benefits of discipline, focus, concentration, better health, all of that. But my question to you is, what is an ideal time for a person in terms of trying to build a habit like this? Is it when they are in the crisis and they realize that they don't have the tools necessary? Or is it something that we should decide upon much earlier and build our ability such that in crisis we can then source upon it?
See, जब टाइटैनिक डूब रही है तब तो स्विमिंग नहीं सीख सकते, तब तो लाइफ बोट ही चाहिए.
Yeah,
That when you're in crisis and God forbid there is some situation or there is some kind of a meltdown, you need medical help. There is no denying that.
right.
Most people need medical help, or some people may need psychiatric help, depending on whatever the condition is. जब टाइटैनिक डूब रही है तब प्लीज स्विमिंग करना ना सीखें.
Hmm.
It's the waters are rough, you're in a panic mode, it won't happen. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
Yeah, yeah,
So learn it as part of your daily routine. Learn it as part. It is a life skill actually. Just like you've learned cooking and washing clothes, it's your own breath. Just learn to use it.
yeah.
उसके लिए कौन सा motivation चाहिए to learn to use your own breath. We teach kids ABCD. We can also teach them how to breathe at that point, right? And also teach them how to eat right at that point of time. But suddenly eating right and breathing right has become a utopia. That, oh man, who learns it? We learn it when the crisis happens. We built a funny society. We built a very funny society in that sense. So the best time is when you're teaching the child ABCD, us time sikha do. But then most people have hit 30s and 40s. So when you've already hit 30s and 40s, or in teenage when crisis has happened, okay, by the grace of God, maybe you've tided over one crisis, then learn it at that point. At some point of time, though, you'll have to make that investment. It is like a skill. When we all learned how to conduct classes on Zoom. We all learned how to work on PowerPoint at a time when PowerPoint came. Usse pehle, I mean, you and I, my age, we used to have transparencies, right? We used to write transparencies and project it.
Yeah,
PowerPoint आ गया, हमने PowerPoint सीखा है ना.
yeah,
PowerPoint इसलिए भी सीखा क्योंकि it was our work necessity. This is your life necessity. कब सीखेंगे?
yeah, yeah. Very well
I mean,
said.
I cannot impress it enough. I cannot impress this point enough. That
Yes.
learn it.
Yes, 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 yes. So coming back to you, what are the new books in the pipeline? What are your future plans? What next in the journey of uh, Miss Anu Lall, pharmacy, pharmacy corporate person turned
A
to
corporate person,
a
yeah.
yoga teacher and a meditation teacher,
So
and
recently, recently we started developing an app on this breath work. So that's going to be, I think, this year's focus. And
okay.
apart from that, we are starting to. I'm writing. I generally write a lot, so I've become a full time content creator. That's what they call me now. I mean, at this day and age, I was like, okay, in this age, abhi hum content creator ban gaye. So I write a lot in general, and I create shorter videos and content. Mostly, I publish them on my LinkedIn platform. Sometimes also on YouTube, which is about. Health and wellness and mental health and dharmic content sometimes. More things which connect us to our Sanatan Dharma, things which connect us to our breathing, things which connect us to our Bhagavad Gita content. So that is what I'm doing, and hopefully I should be writing more about this stuff in the coming days.
Fantastic, fantastic. And we look forward to reading your next book as well once
Thank
you
you.
are sort of ready to publish it and all of that. So it's been a fantastic time talking to you and
Likewise.
understanding some of the concepts that you hold and you're talking about and spreading the word for. So great speaking with you, Anu. And let's hope that we have more young and old people choosing life transformation, choosing to be accountable for their own life, their own well being, physical as well as mental. And are there any last words you would like to leave with the audience for how they could achieve their own well being as well?
Oh, I always end my classes with this mantra that, humans breathe 22 times. 20, wait, I'll say this again. I always end my classes with this mantra which says humans breathe 22,000 times in a day, heroes make that count. So
Yes,
make every breath count. Every kshan, if you make it count, that's when life will shine. And you will see it. Pratyakshiko pramanakya, you will see it happening.
right. Right. So it will be a physical evidence of it will be visible or tangible in their own lives once they choose
Absolutely.
to do the same. Excellent, excellent last words. And thanks for joining us in
Thank
Samvad
you so much for
Medical
having me over.
Festival. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.